From the creators who brought you RuPaul's Drag Race and $1 Million Listing, this is World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hello and welcome everyone to this week's edition of the Wow Report, where we count down the top 10 things that make us go wow. I'm Fenton Bailey, co-founder of World of Wonder, joined by James St. James.
That's me.
Editor of the Wow Report, and World of Wonder's Chief Creative Officer, Tom Campbell.
How do you do?
And we're coming to you live-ish from our isolated pods, because not much has changed the last few years. But let's get into the countdown, because actually there's quite a lot to talk about this week.
Here we go.
Number 10.
Number 10.
I know from just sampling social media that what I'm about to say is incredibly controversial and divisive, and I may be canceled from this moment on.
By me.
I saw the Adele concert on CBS on Sunday, and there were huge chunks of it I despise.
What? I'm shocked. Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. You and I are in agreement.
What? Why? Tell me.
I want to say I hated the whole thing, but I'm trying to be more rational as James and I become mature gay people. Listen, I love her singing.
Yes.
I love her.
Yes.
I love the setting, which they shot the whole thing at sunset from like during Magic Hour tonight at the Griffith Park Observatory.
Yes.
Incredible, great idea, great shot.
But
what disgusted me, and this is the new me, is it was a VIP audience.
Elitist trash.
Democrat, liberal, elitist trash. And it was interrupted by, and I say interrupted, her, like I came to hear her sing and talk. And instead they had an interview with Oprah in that same godforsaken rose garden in Santa Barbara, Montecito, where rich billionaire people meet. To talk to her, to get to understand what she meant by her songs. I don't care what she meant by her songs. Let her sing her songs, talk about them, and let me interpret what they mean. I don't need Oprah to handhold the most famous artist and successful artist on earth, Adele, but somebody thought that was a good idea.
It's Gail's house in Santa Barbara, isn't it? In Montecito. That's the legendary garden.
It's Oprah's rose garden. Oprah is very famously copied an English rose garden. And,
but it's times 1,000.
Very proud of it.
It's very not subtle. And
now,
go ahead.
Can I just mention the elitist trash that's in the audience here?
Please.
I want to say that she had Ellen DeGeneres, blech, Kris Jenner, blech. She had James Corden, who is the most hated person on the planet at this point. She had Lizzo, who I'm sorry I have canceled after that Gucci, walk down Hollywood Boulevard when they hoover back all the homeless people off of Hollywood Boulevard. She had Drake, who was, we know partied immediately after Astroworld. He performed at Astroworld and then went and dropped $1 million at a strip club within 14 hours after it
Melissa
happened.
McCarthy, everybody listen, I'm going to be canceled. World of Wonder is never going to be able to work with a celebrity again. It's not, and I don't mind any of them individually, but there was this suddenly.
No, we do mind them individually. We do mind some of those people. We mind Ellen DeGeneres at this point.
Tyler Ferguson, let's call them all out.
No, Jesse Tyler, Melissa McCarthy, some of these people. But really, I mean, you really...
I think it's the totality. It's the idea that this incredible once-in-a-lifetime concert is going to happen one night only, it was called, and they don't invite fans. Yeah. They don't invite like first responders. They don't. They people wearing thousands of dollars. This is so tone deaf. We're still in the pandemic. We're barely post-pandemic, and here are the rich people getting to do rich things with another rich person. And one of the pleasures of one of the pleasures of Adele is her saucy in-betweens, and she's being muted because she's talking in front of like the most powerful people in Hollywood. It was gross.
Okay, now I want to tell you a couple things that I loved about it, because there were some nice things about it that I really enjoyed. First of all, she was in great voice. She sounded spectacular.
Love her.
Right? I loved the Vivienne Westwood gown that she wore. I thought it was wonderful. I loved those earrings with the Saturns.
It looked like Saturn, and she was at the
yes, the
planetarium.
Vivienne Westwood earrings, spectacular. I do like the idea of billionaire rich women in white pantsuits dripping in diamonds sitting in an English garden discussing divorce. I thought that was sort of funny. That's sort of like my rich white woman fantasy right there.
Ooh, go ahead.
I did see online that someone was saying that Adele's whole shtick lately is that she's a chimney sweep who found $1 billion. She sort of plays up the Cockney accent, like "Hello, lady. Hello, government, Oprah."
So
You know,
it's
and then
sort
the
of-
girlfriend thing is a bit much as well. I agree with you that the thing about the elitist and it's a pandemic and you shouldn't be doing this and give it
No,
to
it's
first
tone deaf.
responders.
I'm sorry, it's
Tone
tone
deaf,
deaf.
yes.
She has people that advise her, and they advise her very, very poorly. Benton,
Yes.
you have something to say, please. Don't
Well,
let
I
us-
do have two things to say. One is I know that there was an ordinary person there because didn't they have a wedding proposal and an acceptance? I know.
That
Right.
makes it even angrier because that's like CBS Undercover Boss, where you help one lowly person, a black couple he was proposing to
Yeah.
his girlfriend. I'm sorry.
You know
that
what
was
they should have
gross.
added in? They should have added in a To Catch a Predator segment. Like just
Yes.
apprehended a child molester or
Yes,
something.
and they can all applaud each other.
But
And
the other thing
girls.
is, I mean, I have to ask you, like, what I always loved about Adele was that she was an outsider. She was overweight. She was cheeky chappy. She just spoke her mind. And I see her being assimilated.
Now,
And I
this
feel the same way about the weight loss. I just feel she's lost her character. Wonder if it's similar to, Billie Eilish's Hollywood glamorous look. I
now,
love
if
her.
you
in
turn
that.
on Billie Eilish, then this will be a trifecta, a hat trick, and I will not believe it. But I do want to say very quickly, I want to address this about Adele, because what I think happened to Adele is the same thing that's happened to Lizzo, where they have finally been upgraded from the kiddie table to the big leagues, and they are so excited to be on billionaires' yachts with Jeff Bezos and Obama and Michelle and Oprah, that like the fact is that they aren't thinking clearly and they aren't realizing, like, Lizzo should not have participated in the Gucci walk. She shouldn't have done it. And yet she's so excited to be asked by Gucci and for Gucci to be showering her with Gucci outfits and stuff that she did it without really having any
I
thought
will
behind it.
give, to your point, I will give Adele a pass. I have no trouble that she lost weight. That's fantastic. I have trouble with the fact that the whole thing needed to be spoon-fed to us by Oprah, who I normally like Oprah, but I feel like back off, bitch. And then I blame for this time her handlers. She is famous. She is rich. She does know those people. I am not watching her to watch her play for her famous people in an elitist, liberal, deplorable clusterfuck.
I'm so happy to hear about this. And I do just want to say the other thing that I really liked, there was a new song that she's saying called "I Hope I Get Over Myself." And I hope she gets over herself too. But I really thought it was a fantastic song, and I had never heard it before, and I really liked it.
All
Love-
right. We're
Love her
going
as
to
the
move.
artist. Hated the event. Okay.
I'll just say, when the three of us are invited on Barry Dilla's yacht or Rupert Murdoch's jet, we'll all be there lining up.
But will you post it? That's the
But
question.
There you go.
But seriously, guys, we don't have to worry about receiving
Not-
those sorts
not
of
after this
invitations.
segment.
Number nine.
I think
Jane.
I've burned my bridges long ago.
Honey, you didn't have a bridge to burn. Number nine.
Number 9.
It is black is white, day is night. All the things that I usually love, I hate, and all the things I hate, I ended up loving this week. Case in point, I watched Red Notice on Netflix. I don't know if you guys know about this. It is the biggest movie Netflix has ever come out with. It is absolutely huge. It's spectacular. It stars Ryan Reynolds. It stars The Rock and Gal Gadot.
And it sounds very mainstream and yucky.
And it does sound very mainstream. It's a buddy comedy. It's a heist film. It's an adventure along like a ripoff of Indiana Jones and National
Something
Treasure.
written by the algorithm, it would seem.
It's yes.
So
But
you
the fact
loved
of the
it,
matter
James.
is that I went into it with zero expectations. It was 2:00 in the morning, and I thought I'm going to go to bed or I'm going to watch this. I ended up watching it, and I was completely charmed. Ryan Reynolds, you get the feeling that he just ad-libs everything that he does, and it's perfect. Like his Deadpool, all of that stuff. Like no matter what he does, he is pitch perfect. And this is just him riffing on whatever the horrible script he got, and he's fantastic. And the whole thing is, it's basically the MacGuffin of the story is that Mark Antony once gave Cleopatra 3 jeweled eggs, and they're trying to find the jeweled eggs. And Ryan is the second best art thief in the world, and Gal Gadot is the first. And The Rock is an FBI agent pursuing them both, and they're all trying to find all 3 eggs, and they're going across the world trying to find it. Blah blah blah. It doesn't matter. Nothing about the plot matters. Nothing about anything matters. It's just a chance to watch Ryan Reynolds and The Rock do buddy comedy, and Gal Gadot is beautiful and breathtaking. And the funny thing is that it's set like in Rio, and then Lisbon, and then London, and then this, and it was all shot in a backlot in Georgia. Apparently, every single, you think you're going all around the world, you think they're spending $300 billion to make this. They probably spent about $100 million in a green screen.
I kind of love The Rock, right? Is that wrong?
Yeah, and I'm not a Rock fan. I am after this. I thought he and Ryan they did this sort of homoerotic buddy thing that was just, I was melting at every single scene.
Blake thinks you were sleep deprived.
Well, probably, but every single critic hated it. Every single person on social media hated it, and I am the only person on the planet that I know that absolutely. Well, I can't be, because it's #1 and it's the biggest thing they've ever done. So somebody out there is with me on this.
They are super charismatic performers, all 3 of them.
Yes,
and so maybe there's some joy and some art to be made within the cracks in the algorithm. Maybe there's hope for art yet.
Maybe.
All right, that is what is it called? Red Notice.
Red Notice
on Netflix. Number 8.
Number 8.
Let's see how you're feeling about this, James, in the love it, hate it thing. Have you seen the RuPaul Christmas Ornament?
I love it. I think it's the best thing that's ever happened. I think it's hysterical. I bought 10 of them.
Well, that's 2 less than Trixie. Trixie bought 12, and RuPaul said, bitch, I'll meet you outside. So you might be careful. This RuPaul Ornament will add charisma, uniqueness, never, and talent to your holiday decor. Crafted from molten glass, mouth blow, and into meticulously carved molds. Each ornament is basically couture, as it is hand-painted, beaded, glued, and glittered. All yours for just $24.
You have to explain that it's an unauthorized, unlicensed thing that's floating around the internet, and it looks like you drew a smiley face on your thumb.
Yes,
the best comment.
It does not really look like Ru, and yet it is like it's one of those things that, like, what is that famous painting that the person?
Well, that's what I was. James,
okay.
I'm gonna get there.
Okay.
The best comment I saw, the Twitter's blown up about it. RuPaul has condemned it as unauthorized trash, although he's been loving all the memes and tweets. The best comment I saw was RuPaulsy. And that, because that is what the face looks like. It's sort of slumped and sort of melted, as James says, just like the 2012. Who knew that it was so long ago? 2012, a lovely grandmother, I should say, Cecilia Gimenez. She restored a picture of Christ in the 16th century sanctuary of Our Lady of Mercy in Spain. And the whole internet went crazy because the resulting restoration was just destroyed and looked like a doodle. And
it's like someone left their cake out in the lane.
Remember that horrible Lucy statue that went up a couple years ago? Sort of like that, or the soccer player that was so bad. I've got to say,
there was a Melania Trump statue, actually, somewhere in Eastern Europe that was made out of a tree stump, and it really more resembled a tree stump than Melania Trump. But these things have a habit of taking off. I mean, the one in 2012 in the little village of Spain, they've now been inundated with like 150,000 tourists. I mean, it's been the saving of this sort of little ghost town in Spain. I think it's called. And
it is something to say that you are so famous that you have bootleg merch being made after you. And if you recall, a couple weeks ago, you were extolling the virtues of the Harlem designer who was ripping off Gucci and Louis Vuitton for rappers. And I sort of think that if you're RuPaul, you can fight it, but it's like a whack-a-mole situation, and you're going to be spending all your time doing it. Or you can just laugh at it and say that I'm so famous.
I think Ru's laughing at it. He's having a field day. And there's something about knocking off your design and knocking off your face and having it look so hideous, which makes it really extra.
And it's a perfect opportunity for Ru to be pushing her own merch as well, saying this, and that's the beauty of it, is that she can laugh at it and make a little money at the same time.
Well, yeah, and not going to miss an opportunity, because if you really want a Christmas stocking stuffer, you have to buy RuPaul's Drag Race UK Yearbook 2022. James, have you seen it? It's 122 pages. It's 6 inches of fabulous interviews with the cast from seasons 1, 2, and 3.
Well, if we're pushing our own shit right now, I have a book called Freak Show that came out in 2007, and you can get it on
What's that
Amazon.
got to do with Christmas?
Well, if you're pushing your merch, why can't I push mine? If you're trying to make a buck off of this, let me make a buck too.
I would love you to push your merch, and I would love to see you as a Christmas ornament, actually. And I'd like to hang you on my tree, frankly.
I'm sure you'd like to hang me somewhere.
Rue's Christmas ornament looks a little bit like James.
It's been such
And
a
you
friendly
just
show.
lost me. We were best friends for about 5 minutes, and then the claws come out.
Let's take a break. Blake, have you got a question for us?
Well, this week it's not really a question. There's no wrong answer. I'm going to do a would you rather. Would you rather get violent diarrhea and throw up on your boss while giving a giant presentation in front of the entire company, or trip while walking down the aisle at your own wedding, causing your arm to break? I think it'll be pretty easy, right?
Oh, gosh, I'm just going to be covered in vomit by the time we come back from the break.
Oh, wait, is it Fenton that I'm throwing up on?
He's your boss, right?
Okay, yeah, sure.
I don't think so, really. I think you're my boss, James. And I'm feeling an attack of diarrhea coming on right now. You're listening to Wow Report on Radio. Andy will be right back with some thoughts.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. I'm Fenton here with James, St. James, and Tom Campbell, and Blake. A teasing conundrum for us before the break.
Yeah, instead of trivia, I did a would you rather this week. Would you rather get violent diarrhea and throw up on your boss while giving a giant presentation in front of everyone, or trip while walking down the aisle at your wedding and break your arm?
Can I ask a question, like where you got this from?
BuzzFeed, of course.
Oh,
I think I would rather trip walking down the wedding and break my arm, because I like to do something I haven't done before.
Good answer. I'm going to go with the diarrhea and the vomit, because the prospect of breaking my arm is just painful.
Well, but I have a feeling, though. Well,
I'll just vomit on myself.
You'll be talked about forever either way. But I have a feeling that the photo op is probably better with the breaking the arm at the wedding.
I think I would rather just poop on my boss. I mean, no offense, Fenton, but like, I wouldn't want to break my arm.
Exactly. I'm with you, Blake. We'll vomit on each other.
Okay.
We're counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow. 10, 9. Number 7.
Number 7.
I had the great privilege of going to the LACMA Museum, even though much of it's been torn down. There still are open exhibits and open buildings. And what drew me in, I became a member because I always let those things lapse. And I went to see the Obama Portrait Tour, which is of our former President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama. And, they made quite a splash back in 2018 when they were officially, or was it 2019 when they were officially?
This is the one with all the leaves, right?
Yes.
The green, yes.
His portrait, and they're side by side on this wall, and there's a big turnout. And Kehinde Wiley, can't pronounce names, did the portrait of President Obama. He's from LA originally, resides in New York now, beautiful Black man. And his portraiture, and there was another example of it later on in an exhibit of Black.
It's so beautiful, that one.
Yes,
Oh.
And it's Obama in a relatively traditional pose in a chair, but against these green leaves. You've seen it, but with flowers that represent flowers from his homeland and the Chicago and things. And it's mesmerizing and beautiful. And then on the same wall is a somewhat smaller, different shaped portrait of Michelle done by Amy Sherald, who is from Georgia, originally resides in New York. Another beautiful Black woman artist who, and there's another example of her portraiture in the gallery. But her, it's sort of that quilted dress. It's white, and her contribution or thing that she does is she makes Black people's skin in color portraiture gray tone, like it appears in black and white photographs. And it's very distinctive. I don't know why she thought of it. It's beautiful. I love, these have been around for a while. It's not news, but I love that the Obamas, picked 2 Black contemporary artists with contemporary different points of view. It was thrilling to be there, oddly, and it was thrilling. Everyone was taking pictures. And I will jump in and I'll shut up. It's like, so you go into the next room and right adjoining is Black portraiture, just all these different artists. And there's this one statue that caught me by surprise. I'm so disappointed. I've written LACMA and we'll put it on the WoW Report or in the comments of the YouTube. I don't know who the artist is. I don't know the name of it, but it's basically when you come upon it, the window is behind you of LACMA and it's got the palm trees. It's just, the outside of LACMA looking up into the Hollywood Hills. And it's a mirror that is the shape of what appears to be an athlete, like an Olympic athlete or a basketball player holding their fist up, but it's all a mirror, a flat mirror. And when I was like, oh, that's really interesting. Like it really moved me. And then as you walk around it, it's 3D from the side and the back. So it's an actual sculpture in black of, the sweatsuit, the rear end, the legs, the back of the head. And it just filled me with like, I don't know, it made me so emotional and then I took a thing you've seen on my social media of going from behind where it looks like a real person and then you circle around it and you end up seeing yourself in the whole room. It's, gimmick, art. I don't know the difference. I just know I was incredibly moved by it. I have to find out the artist's name.
I thought the pair of the portraits, the Obamas together, they were just so beautiful together. I mean, different artists, but such a great pair of portraits. And then I loved like this other exhibition of all about Black portraiture. I thought it was so great. And that Kahinda Wiley one, the other one, I don't know who he painted, but it's so mesmerizing, the colors, and it was just really great. Let's move. Okay, so that is the Obama portraits. They're at LACMA through January the 2nd, 2022. That's well worth going to see, plus the exhibition. Number 6, James.
Number 6.
Something that is not worth going to see. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to come out. I went to go see The French Dispatch over the weekend, the Wes Anderson movie, and I loathed it with a white hot passion like I have never felt before. It is, Wes Anderson he's twee. He is mannered. He is sometimes pretentious, sometimes very elegant, and sometimes it's very charming. And a lot of his movies are some of my favorite movies of all time. When I like Wes Anderson, I like him. When I hate him, it's like fingernails on a chalkboard. And this one is more Wes Anderson than Wes Anderson is ever Wes Anderson. Okay. I mean, when I tell you that it is Wes Anderson times 1,000, it is twee beyond twee. It stars, I'm just going to tell you this, Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody, Tilda Swinton, Timothée Chalamet, Frances McDormand, Jeffrey Wright, Bill Murray, Owen Wilson, Bob Balaban, Henry Winkler, Christoph Waltz, Willem Dafoe, Liev Schreiber, Edward Norton, Angelica Houston, Saoirse Ronan, Elizabeth Moss, Jason Schwartzman, Griffin Dunn. It is everybody that you love ever.
So basically everybody who was at the Adele concert.
Basically, yes. Okay. And you think that how can it go wrong? Well, let me tell you how it can go wrong. It is set up like a New York Times magazine. It's based on a magazine supplement. And so it is spread into 5 different vignettes. There is travel, arts and leisure, politics, culinary delights, and an obituary. And the first one is Luke Wilson. What is his name? Owen Wilson. And it's travel, and it's 5 minutes, and it's adorable. The second one is the arts and leisure, and it's Tilda Swinton doing a Margaret Thatcher impersonation with big hair and big teeth, and she's in a caftan, and she's fabulous. Benicio del Toro, Adrian Brody, absolutely hysterical. You love it. You're there. You are part of it. You think this is fantastic. I love this movie. Everything about it is perfect. Then comes the politics, and that's Timothée Chalamet and Frances McDormand. and it's beginning to wobble a little bit. You're getting a little irritated. It's about a student uprising in France over some chess games, something you don't even really know. But Timothée Chalamet is shirtless, and he's got big curls, and he's got a little struggle stash, and so I'm there. I'm still there. I'm a part of the movie. I like it. Then comes the culinary part with Jeffrey Wright, who is doing a really pretentious, what's his name? James Baldwin. He's doing a really pretentious James Baldwin impersonation. And he's telling the Shaggy Dog story that goes absolutely nowhere. And it goes on and on and on. And it's so boring. And when I tell you, Fenton, and you're going to understand this, that at this point, the score is 3 notes. Do 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 do, and every couple minutes there's so it goes do 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 for 40 minutes. Okay, and when we went to Akhenaten, the Philip Glass opera, and we lasted 2 hours before we had to run, this makes Philip Glass look like Rodgers and Hammerstein. Okay, it and by the end, I'm not somebody who jumps up and screams at a screen. I am not somebody who yells back at a movie, and it was all I could do. I finally had to walk out into the lobby and take a moment and stop and breathe and say before I could go back in and watch it, because it made me so angry. I hate Wes Anderson for this score. It is the most annoying thing I've ever been a part of, and if anyone knows what I'm talking about, oh my God.
So you recommend it?
What?
So you recommend it?
Well, Timothée Chalamet naked for 1.3 seconds is worth the price of admission.
Well, that is The French Dispatch, and it's in theaters now. I have to confess, I always confuse Wes Anderson with Paul Thomas Anderson. And Paul Thomas Anderson...
It's funny because Paul Thomas Anderson has done Licorice Pizza, which everyone says is going to be the movie to beat at the Oscars this year. And I watched the preview for that, and that looks as annoying as hell. Not one attractive person in the whole damn movie. Everyone with these zits and greasy hair. It was just, that to me looks like torture as well.
God. We're not going to have any friends after this, James. As if we had any to begin with.
Were you really planning on being friends with Paul Thomas Anderson?
Number 5.
Sheila Gate. Sheila Nevins, former
her.
president of documentaries at HBO for many, many years. And we've worked with her for many years and made many films for her, including the series Shock Video, which showcased like sex programs on television around the world.
Including Party Monster.
Oh, Party Monster, yes. Maplethorpe, look at the pictures.
Yes.
Liberty, Mother of Exiles, things of that nature.
Monica in black and white.
Well, thank you. Yes. So there's a new book, Tinderbox, HBO's Ruthless Pursuit of New Frontiers, coming out next week. And I guess it's all about HBO, but the bombshell is Sheila is giving zero fucks in a very loud way. She's dropping bombs. She left HBO a few years ago and at the time said, I have deprived my life of a life. All I did was work. I was born at HBO. I don't have to die there. So it was like she voluntarily gave up the reins of power. Well, no, it doesn't sit here. So she was kicked to the curb, she says. And she drops a load on the CEO, Richard Plepler.
She vomits in diarrheas all over them.
She has diarrhea and vomits all over them. I mean, she says Michael Lombardo, her immediate boss, called her up screaming about an Elvis documentary and said that he was a deranged madman. There was talk at one point of bringing Ted Koppel in, and Sheila went ballistic and launched a sort of, what's the word when you do
scorched earth campaign.
And he apparently said he enjoyed Sheila Nevins, but he ended up backing off because she was so fierce. And then they bumped into each other at Canyon Ranch, and he called her a snake. And she says, I got you. I mean, it's really vicious, mean, and nasty. And
did you ever see this side of Sheila?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Whenever somebody's victim story includes when I ran into him at Canyon Ranch.
Adele was there too.
Yeah.
Wait, what's Canyon Ranch? Is it for billionaires?
Sheila is very funny. I mean, working with Sheila has been a very demanding, emotionally draining experience, I will say. And she would admit to that. She says, she has a great quote in the New York Post piece. She says, I would never have worked for me. Never, not in a million years. What a bitch. So she owns her difficultness. Yeah.
Page 6 tends to take something that's controversial and makes it 10 times more controversial through editing. You know, like Page 6 is really bad about that lately.
Right.
But I always take zero credit for shit because I was at HBO when Sheila had just started, and I was in the room of like 10 or 20 people when she put in the 3/4-inch tape of the first Real Sex, which is the show that redefined her and made it was the most viewed show on HBO for decades. And, you know, it was all about real sex workers and stuff. And they went around the table and go, what does everybody think? I'm a junior executive. And I'm like, I like my porn hard or not at all. Because it was, to me, it was like soft porn. It's like, I need more. And she's like, but the funny, it's like, it put panic in her eye. Like, let me think about that. But clearly, I'm where I am, and Sheila is where she is. A legend, has won more Oscars and Emmys than any individual.
Well, yeah, it's 26 Oscars, 32 primetime Emmys, 35 news and documentary Emmys, and 42 Peabodys. So she did good for HBO. Yeah. I mean, she really did.
She is, you know, I mean, she's one of those people who is probably very difficult to work for, but the end result is always spectacular, and it's always the challenge is worth it.
Katie Couric moment where no one gives an F anymore. People just want to let the dirt out, and it feels more than usual for some reason.
It is. I think it's pandemic pent-up frustrations, but I also think perhaps it's a good thing. You know, just let it out. Like, it's just shit. Just let it go, you know.
I love a strong woman, and I love Sheila Nevins. Love her. Love everything about her. Thinking about being her for Halloween next year. But if she has anyone to thank for her career for Real Sex, it's me and my generation who used to sit there with HBO and the Disney Channel on the recall button, because that was all the Real Sex we could get.
Oh, so when the parents came in, you'd quickly flip back to the Disney Channel.
Exactly. Right. Everyone my age remembers like their first. That we always talk about Real Sex on HBO.
We made a piece for Real Sex, and it was in the day. I mean, when they actually shot it on film. Can you believe? It was 1998, 99. We shot it on film. And it was Puppetry of the Penis, you know, where the guys.
I took you to Puppetry of the Penis. I was the one who forced you to go see it.
Oh, thank you, James. Thank you.
I can't believe, Tom, you're that old to have been in the first meeting of Real Sex.
You can't believe Tom is that old?
I mean,
it was like 1990 or something. It was.
Was it? Oh,
I mean, she didn't. They say that she invented R-rated docs, right? But she didn't really, because Channel 4 in the UK was doing much harder core stuff for years and years and years. In fact, one of the films she did, they never showed it. It was like people who fall in love with their animals and marry them and have sex with them and things of that nature. You're listening to Wow Report on Radio. Andy will be right back.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
Hey, welcome back to the Wow Report. I have to tell you that you might have missed it, but last night was the premiere of Drag Race Italia with Sheila, Giari Francini, and Tommaso Zorzi, the judges. And I got to tell you, it's an amazing season of pent-up, crazy stuff. Amazing. And
I just say also, for those of you who watch Drag Race for the pit crew, you're not going to want to miss Drag Race Italia.
Oh my God, there's so many of them, and they're just in their underwear all the time. And then they'll go and change from regular underwear to sparkly sequin underwear.
And that way, I'm the Sheila Nevins of Drag Race, because I've always insisted on the pit crew wearing underwear. I brought that to America and to the world. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Tom. All right.
No Peabody Awards for me.
We're counting down the top 10 things that made us go, wow. We've reached number 4.
Number 4.
Probably another controversial topic. You know, I try always to make my wows for good. They're all bad. This is the grumpy episode of the Wow Report. So People Magazine, which feels incredibly out of touch now, just named Paul Rudd as the sexiest man alive. Now, Paul Rudd is
You have a problem with this?
Yeah. I think he's not sexy. He's the guy next door. He's looked good for a long time. He wears Dockers. It's like you're not checking him out. You don't care that much. Like sex is dangerous. Sex is a chemical reaction to somebody. Paul Rudd is really well preserved.
Ryan Reynolds is the sexiest man alive, James. Come on.
I would go with that. And I would go further. I know all roads lead to us talking about him, but how about Lil Nas X? As the sexiest
That
man
would be
alive?
good. Yeah, definitely.
You want to make a difference in the culture. You want, like, he is sexy, by the way, and he's sexy, I think, to men and to women. And and God bless GQ, because they have this like cover and spread of him. RuPaul has said forever, if you can't love yourself, how are you going to love somebody else? Well, it's all this portraiture, a lot of it of Lil Nas kind of sort of in women's clothes and men's clothes, loving on himself, just posing.
The couple,
and I'm so as much as not Lil Nas X is a perfect, Harry Styles is right up there too. I think that Harry Styles could
Yeah.
fill
I mean, it's all demo. And I said to somebody, who was it? I said to somebody, why is he in there? And they said, well, what does he have coming out? So everybody knows that he has some movie on, or some TV show on Apple, which is it's all based on publicity.
Your PR people, your publicists have gotten you in. Yes.
But that feels so old fashioned, and it feels so out of step. And I know People Magazine is probably for grandparents like us and young people, but I still think People Magazine could be doing more to advance the conversation, and not just to be liberal, drips, but to actually feel in their groin what makes the sexiest man alive, which I don't think Paul Rudd does. And I think Lil Nas does for me. And there's some quotes. This is from Trey Spiegel's story on the Wow Report, worldofwonder.net. But little from the article, he goes, my DMs are all out of order, which is lucky because I do get horny. And I'm like, let's see what the hottest person in this thread looks like. He goes, I can't do Grindr anymore because I'll get murdered. Literally, probably get murdered. I just love how frank he is. I love the way his mind works. We say this every time, but and he talks about he loves his work more than and what he does more than he loves other people, and he's learning to just love himself. But I don't know.
Interestingly, I did see that Boy Culture, Matthew Redmond, who is a friend of ours, posted every single Sexiest Man Alive cover for the last 36 years or whatever.
Right.
And if you take them in whole and look at them in sort of an aggregate, people has never had their finger on the pulse of who the sexiest person is. It's usually Patrick Swayze with a weird mullet, or Mel Gibson 10 times in a row.
But you know what, James? I feel it's a bit like the Academy Awards. They never give the films that last and the really great films. They never win the awards.
It's whoever has the best publicist wins.
Right, exactly. Or the most expensive campaign, behind them.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, sexiest man alive, Lil Nas X. There, I said it.
Awesome. Number 3, James.
Number 3.
Taylor Swift was on Saturday Night Live last week, and she has come out with this album. She re-released this album, Red, which was from like about 10 years ago, because Scooter Braun had taken away all of her albums, her ability to make money off of them.
It's a whole version that she owns all of and controls.
Yeah, so she is re-releasing every single one of her early albums. This is the album Red, and it's when she was breaking up with Jake Gyllenhaal is basically the story of the songs. She broke all convention on Saturday Night Live. Usually performed 2 songs. She said she was doing 1 10-minute ultra long marathon song all too well. And there was a video in the background. She's singing. The song goes through multiple. I mean, it just, it's spectacular. It was a triumph. You were riveted to every single second. No, you're wrong about this. You're wrong about this, Tom. No. What she did, she is a boss lady. This is a badass move. She is ballsy. I've never seen anything like this. She has taken hold of her future. She's taken hold of her past. She's taken hold of her present, and she is in control. Like, it's to watch Taylor Swift go from being a teenage prodigy to a pop super sensation in her 20s, now in her 30s, where she is just badass, and you don't fuck with Taylor Swift. In fact, afterwards, Colin Jost said, I guess the lesson here is you don't break up with Taylor Swift.
Okay.
Hold on one second. I'll give it to you in 1 second. But when it was announced that she was doing this song, Jake Gyllenhaal went onto Twitter and said, I am leaving Twitter for the foreseeable future. He was terrified of what was going to happen to him. And the Swifties went after him like you've never seen.
What was so bad about Jake? That the only thing I don't like about Taylor Swift, actually, there's many things I don't like, but one of them is why she's always beating up on her exes.
Well, that was her shtick in her teens and 20s, and I think she's trying to move beyond that now. She tries to do
Clearly.
no, but she has no choice. She has no choice but to address it if you're bringing back all those old albums.
What did he do that was so bad?
She's gonna say that that's not how I felt at the time.
What was wrong with him?
How she felt at the time.
What
and
was wrong with him?
badass,
ballsy move to call out Jake Gyllenhaal. Like
what was wrong with him?
Would not give back the damn red scarf, and so she's singing the song about the fact that she's trying to get over this man, but she realizes halfway through the song that he's not over her as well because he won't give back the scarf. And that's the point of so if Jake Gyllenhaal would have given up the scarf, then she would not have a song to sing.
Okay, my turn. Tagging in. Taylor Swift, didn't she like read to Phil some Netflix show that made the joke that like that's like breaking up with Taylor Swift? Well, it's exactly the joke they did in Untitled Live right after she performed. If you are still talking about a breakup 10 years later, it might be on you. It might be on you.
She is not going around talking about Jake Gyllenhaal. She re-released an album because the album money had been taken away from her. So she had no choice but to relitigate the whole issue because it was part of the publicist. To make the money off of the album, she had to go back in time.
She's a genius. She has the world wrapped around her little finger. She knows how to communicate to her audience. I give all that to her. As an artist and as someone who listens to music, and I'm just one sluggy guy in the world, I do not connect with her voice. I do not connect with her artistry. I'm not saying it's without artistry.
I've always been with you on this, but when I watched her performance, I couldn't help but think how powerfully she's grown as an artist and how she manages to just capture every
I would say
emotion
that hearing Taylor Swift sing live is not one of my top 10 fun things to do. I
cannot believe who you've become. I don't even know you anymore.
I can maybe do a little peacekeeping between you because I think that Taylor Swift has grown, and I do think the ballsiest move, James, surely here is that she's like, right, I'm just going to re-record those albums, taking back control. And I do think that the music industry is a heinously exploitive arena. And I do see her, Tom, as kind of like Taylor Swift and Lil Nas X. I see them both as badasses, taking the music industry to task and redefining it with a sort of certain.
I'll buy that. I just don't like listening to her music personally. That's just
when it was announced that she was re-releasing every single one of the albums, you thought that they were going to drop quietly and she was just going to do it to get the money. But she has promoted it. She has gone back in time and is reliving every single song with the emotional force that she first had.
Well, so did Reba McEntire recently, just to be fair. But
I love her for that.
I'm just teasing. But the other thing is, wait. Oh, it's a whole 10-minute movie you saw. There's a movie that was released.
And it stars Dylan O'Brien from Teen Wolf, who is my absolute favorite person on the planet. So it was a win-win for me.
All right, we're going to move on. Number two. I want to talk a little bit about WoW Docs, World of Wonder documentaries, because we have won 2 IDA awards and we're up for a 3rd. So the first IDA award is the Ronan Farrow for his Catch and Kill the podcast tapes. He won the IDA Truth to Power Award, which isn't an award they give out every year. It's like when they feel someone's done something really outstanding and amazing, as they feel Ronan has, they give you that award. So very excited about that because
you and Randy worked very closely with him, turning his podcast into a visual documentary.
That's right. We did it. It's the World of Wonder show, the podcast tapes, and that's on HBO Max. And then just the other day, I heard that Whirlybird, which we executive produced, won the ABC News Video Source Award, which is basically for use of archive.
I love Whirlybird. It's the most underrated, underexposed documentary. Give the log line again, because it
is the story of Zoe Tur, who basically invented helicopter news reporting at an epic time in the history of Los Angeles. So he covered the riots, he found OJ on the freeway, Madonna's wedding, and you'll notice I just misgendered him because Zoe was Bob back in the day. And Bob and Marika, husband and wife, they took to the sky. He scraped together some cash, bought a helicopter and basically gave birth to helicopter news reporting, and it was an amazing story. And now, as Zoe is another amazing chapter in her life. So that's
deeply personal, and also it's a deeply personal documentary that also deals with so many familiar. You know, we saw through Zoe's eyes what the news from Los Angeles in the 90s.
That's
Every iconic moment that you remember was captured by them.
Absolutely, absolutely, and it relates to.
And Zoe's daughter, forgive me, is
Katie Tur.
Katie Tur,
scourge of Donald Trump, NBC News reporter, fierce, badass, James.
The Taylor Swift of news.
And then the third one, fingers crossed, because the award ceremony isn't until February next year, is for Wojnarowicz, and I'll say the full title: "Fuck You, Faggot Fucker." Brilliantly directed by Chris McKim. David Wojnarowicz was an East Village artist in the 80s who died early on in the AIDS pandemic and was incredibly outspoken about the government's indifference and the bigotry and the prejudice. And it's just so sort of prescient, I should say, that Chris wanted to make this film, and we produced it, you know, on the verge of another pandemic under another Republican incompetent president who fundamentally doesn't care about people who aren't male or white or privileged. And so
a peer, an artist who was a peer of Keith Haring's and a peer of around the same as
Mapplethorpe, Haring, Basquiat. Yeah.
And for some reason is kind of by historical terms has kind of slipped between the cracks. People don't know as much, but this documentary helps to fix that.
So thank you to the International Documentary Association, because we're very proud and honored and humble brag.
You know what? It shouldn't be a humble brag. It's documentaries, because I work more on the TV side. I don't do much of the documentaries, so I get to have a front row seat to watch you guys do it. It's like documentaries are so hard. There's no momentum. There's no,
I mean, especially if you're working for Sheila Nevins while you're doing.
Yeah. But it's not like people, it's a business, right? And everybody thinks a series you can make a lot of money and networks and money and documentaries are labors of love and stories often that no one knows about. And to have you guys have the fortitude and the wisdom and the guts to sort of put your heart and soul and oftentimes money on the line to get these things seeded and started and beyond. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Fingers crossed for Chris McKim next February. We'll be talking about it lots, I'm sure. We're going to take one more break, and then when we come back, reveal the number one thing that made us go wow this week.
You're listening to World of Wonders Wow Report. Things that make us go wow.
And welcome back to the Wow Report. Fenton here with Tom and James and Blake. We've been counting down the top 10 things that made us go wow this week. Really, there can only be one thing that is number one this week. We've talked about it once or twice before.
Number one.
Britney's conservatorship is over. James St. James, take it away.
Well, the beauty of it is that, well, first of all, she thanked the Free Britney movement that helped put this into the national spotlight and helped it come to pass. She has since said that she doesn't know if she's ever going to perform again, but she has since taken space at a studio saying that she might want to make music again. She said she might want to have children again. She's going to get married to the man of her dreams. She might move. And just today she was on her Instagram, or just this week she was on her Instagram saying that she had her first glass of champagne ever for her birthday. And it sort of like chokes you up a little bit thinking, this woman who is almost 40 years old has never been allowed to have a glass of champagne on her birthday. And so the freedom that she feels and the happiness, that just the joy that's surrounding this is, it's hard not to get caught up in the momentum of it. Does anyone else have anything else to say about this?
I'm happy that she's back out in the spotlight. I love that this last weekend she went out to Catch, which is a paparazzi hotspot, and people were kind of giving her shit for that. But I think she's earned it.
She can do whatever. If she never wants to perform again, if she wants to live on a mountaintop or an island, go do it, baby. You have earned it.
I really want.
I wish her only the best. She's had issues in the past. I hope she, and I don't need to know what anything is. I just wish her peace and serenity and a long life. And I do think, I guess, along the lines of a Taylor Swift in a different way or in Listen Not Sex, Britney could write her future however she wants in the music industry. If she wanted to record and not tour, if she wanted to tour and not record, if she wanted to release one song and album, I think the world, and Britney is an artist. Whatever you say about her, I love her music. I love her songs. They age very well. And I would love to have more from Britney. Whatever she wants to do, no pressure. But the world would be a better place with more Britney.
I was talking to someone and they were saying they're not sure if they know. Does Britney know how big she is? Do you know what I mean? Because she could call up anyone. She could call up Adele. She could call up Oprah. And they would be throwing themselves at her. And I don't think she knows that or believes that.
I hope she doesn't end up in Oprah's rose garden. Oh, God.
But I think, Tom, I think you're absolutely correct. I think she has the ability to redefine the music industry in whatever she wants to do.
Which may be nothing, and that's okay, too.
Or in 20 years, she might want to put out one song. And
I really think she'll release some new music because I really think that now she's happy again. She's going to want to do it. And then when she does that, she'll probably going to want to do at least a show or two, right?
Well, maybe there might be trauma associated with her,
we don't know.
Well, yeah, all at her own pace.
But I wonder if she ever dated Jake Gyllenhaal. Maybe there's something there.
Her fiance is absolutely spectacular, though.
There was a New York Times piece on him, which I didn't read yet, but he's getting. It'll be interesting to see. It's hard for the spouse of someone as famous as Britney Spears to fare well in the public eye. So so far so good for him. So let's hope he hangs in there too.
Yeah, and I wish only good things for Britney. I do have apprehensions and anxieties, but
But you go through life like that, Fenton.
I know. I was going to say you have been poo-pooing this Free Britney thing since the beginning. So,
yeah, I think in some respects the Free Britney movement was uninformed and fact-free, and
but look at where it got us.
And I think the situation is more complex than is being taken into account right now. But
you naysayer, the penny, the sky is falling.
It isn't, because the show's over. We've run out of time. Yay. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, James. Thank you, Blake. And thank you for listening to the Wow Report here on Radio Andy. You can listen to previous episodes on the YouTube channel, Wow Presents, or same time, same place next week for a brand new episode. Until then, go out and do something that makes the world go wow.
Wow.